Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Monday night. This is Ramone Hyde, Ramone Hyde speaks, where you'll find inspiring and encouraging and challenging messages to help you navigate through life. I'm Pastor Ramone, and this is at Ramone Hyde Speaks. Thank you for joining me tonight live. If this is your first time on the stream, I want to say thank you for coming in. And if you're always here every Monday, I want to also say thank you for joining in and be a part of the fam at Ramone Hyde Speaks. Hey, you can like and share on Facebook and Instagram. You can also follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to smash the subscribe button on YouTube. And if you're encouraged by this live stream, you're always encouraged to please help enable the donations to stay live, the stream to stay live. So you can give to RamoneHydeSpeaks.square.site. And again, that's RamoneHydeSpeaks.square.site. Or you can just simply scan the QR code that's on the screen. And so I just want to thank everybody that's been joining in for the last 2 years. You know, we have reports saying that, listen, there's over 1,000 people that have actually seen Ramone Hyde Speaks. I get messages every week thanking me for the messages, and thank you for sharing. So I just want to thank you guys for doing that. Hey, coming soon, we have Ramone Hyde Speak podcast, or you can take the God-inspired messages with you. You can listen on the road, in your dorm, or you can share with others. And so we want to provide that. That's coming up next month, so I don't want you to forget that. So listen, if you're joining in, man, let me tell you, you're going to be encouraged tonight because I got a message that is going to encourage both you and I. I think you know this by now. Cancer culture is huge today, right? Cancer culture is huge. And so, listen, you can say or do the wrong thing and people will cancel you. You won't be able to listen. It's just something that's a part of our society and the world that we live in today. And so, you don't have to be able to, you won't be able to say, what you want to say sometimes. You got to kind of tiptoe around certain, things. But what I wanted to express to you tonight is that not only is the cancer culture big, but it's something that's been going on for quite some time. And I'm sure you have things that you'd like to cancel, right? On a good note. I mean, you have some debt that you'd like to cancel. You've got some bills you want to cancel. I'm sure you have some people you still want to cancel too. Our society, it's funny. You have your circle and you have friends, you have business people, you have people that you just interact with on a daily basis. But if you think about it, there are on some level, someone in your mind you have wanted to cancel on some level. And so that's what we're going to talk about tonight. The other thing I want you to know is, listen, people have a way of canceling you where they won't buy your music, they won't buy your podcast, they won't listen to you, you know what I mean? Just because someone said something that they were offended by. And right, there are things that we say today that we just don't respect one another. But today I'm going to come from a different point. Today I want to talk about something today that's been on my mind about the canceling culture. But have you thought about this? Tonight, I want to come from the perspective that Jesus is canceling something on purpose, and it's for both of our good. You know what I mean? Have you canceled someone? Have you canceled something out of your life because, it or they did not fit in with your goals or your personal mantra? So today, we're talking about you're canceled, and the subtitle to that is you can't out-sin your salvation. So if you're just joining me, I want you to just kind of think on that point. So where we're going to start right at Luke chapter 7. And Luke chapter 7 has a very familiar story that I want to share. And if you don't know the story, I'm going to share it anyway, so that way you kind of are familiarized what's going on. Let me give you a little bit of background what's going on. Jesus is actually, he's actually coming from one part of the town. He's going into another part of the town. And he just healed a bunch of people. People are actually amazed at this because there's huge crowds. He's healing the sick. The lame are coming. They're walking. People are talking. People are actually, and they're seeing this. And so this is all being written down, and people are seeing this. He's in the village of Nain, And all this is happening. And so people are amazed because they've never seen anything like this. And out of the blue, there's a guy that comes out of this crowd, and he's a Pharisee. And what a Pharisee is basically a religious attorney. So he's, one of the best at knowing all the scriptures and knowing all the laws and all the commandments, of Moses and all these different things. And so he wants to invite Jesus to dinner. But what's happening here, really, this is really much of a setup for Jesus. And so that's what's happening. We're going to come in right at Luke chapter 7, verse 36. And so it says, when one of the Pharisees invited Jesus to have dinner with him, he went to the Pharisee's house and reclined on the table. Back then, they didn't have like chairs. They just actually reclined and sat like you would sit in your like you would sit on the ground. And so verse 37, Jesus sat at the table, reclined at the table. And then there's a woman that comes in to town who lived a sinful life, learned that Jesus was eating at the Pharisee's house. So she came there with an alabaster jar of perfume. Now, before we get all tied up into this scripture, I want to give you kind of what's going on. Now, here's the Pharisee, the guy that's so-called that knows every book of the Bible. He knows it all. He knows exactly what's going on, right? And so he's meeting Jesus and he's inviting Jesus to dinner. And watch this, because this is where it's going to get good. He's inviting Jesus not to have a relationship with him and not even just to know what he's all about. He really is inviting Jesus just to trip him up. He's inviting Jesus just to kind of trick him into saying things that he knows that he could go back to the other Pharisees and say, look, I know this man is not for real. He's not, he's not genuine. And so this is what's happening. But I want to pay attention to the woman, not so much the Pharisee. Because what's interesting here, and I just want to let you know, this is going to be a two-part thing. So we'll do this one tonight, and then I'll share the rest next week. But watch this. In verse 36, it says that the woman lived a sinful life, right? And so let's just put our period there for a moment. Doesn't that include all of us, right? Isn't that all of us? I mean, some of us may think, well, I really hasn't done anything sinful or bad, but I'm going to tell you just like it is. Listen, for all of us, including me, and for every pastor at every church, and for every person that's in the pew, and for every person that sits behind the desk at a job, everybody included. That's what we are, just like this woman. And watch what happens with this woman. She learns that Jesus is in town. And what I love about the woman is just like us, right? I told you before, let SZA come to your town, and they have one ticket left, and I guarantee you everybody will be trying to get that ticket, right? You're gonna be desperate. You're gonna go everywhere to try to find that one ticket, that just to try to get in. It's something about desperation, right? Desperation will do something great for you when you get to that point. And so what happens is the lady comes and she knows that Jesus is in town, finds out that he's going to this Pharisee's house for dinner. Now watch this, and actually follows them there. She doesn't have the address. Watch how desperate she is. She doesn't know where this guy lives, but she follows them to the house. And what happens is she goes in the middle of the invitation of the dinner and basically interrupts this, right? Now, Jesus doesn't say anything. The Pharisee doesn't say anything. And the woman gets to Jesus and she starts to cry at his feet. I don't want to get too deep in it, but I'm going to show you some stuff next week that's going to blow your mind. But watch this. It says she lived a sinful life. All of us are inclusive in that one sentence, because Romans 3:23 says, all have sinned and come short to the glory of God. Basically, we've all come short. None of us can match that list, not Moses' list of the 10 commandments and not any other list after that. And so what I love is, what I want to focus on is this woman's desperation. She wasn't even invited to the party. She wasn't, listen, and customarily, she's not even allowed to go in with them, but she followed them out of desperation, right? The enemy knows that when you're desperate, you're dangerous. Come on. I'm helping myself with that one, because he knows that when you're desperate, you're dangerous. And I'll tell you why you're dangerous. Because he knows that when you come to the very end of yourself, that's where we truly meet God, in our desperation. When you have actually hit rock bottom to no more solutions, no more alternatives, right? No more things that you can buy yourself out of this. We all will come to a place where we have to say, God, you know what? I don't even know if you're real. I don't know if you exist. But if you are real, I need you so much right now because my desperation has hit myself and there's no other way out. When you are daring, you are determined. When you are at desperation, you are frantic. When you are at desperation, you are frenzied. You are furious. Let me tell you something. When you hit the bottom of you, that's where things will change. When your desperation, listen, God is at the forefront of your eagerness. He is at the forefront of your drive. He's at the forefront of your tenacity to find a better and more promising solution than the ones you've been promised, right? And the ones that you've been going to. And so this lady, what she does is she's like, listen, I'm out. I have no more solutions. I'm at the end of me. Listen, have you been at the end of you? And she's like, listen, this is my one moment to get in, right? Come on now. If you're at the SZA concert, you're like, I just need to get in. If I could just get in to meet SZA, come on, right? If I could just listen, if I could just get in to meet him, then I know that the things that I've been worrying about, that I've been toiling over, will be over. And if they're not over, then I know that I have someone that I can always continually go to. Come on, I'm helping myself tonight. That solution is him. So my point is, listen, your desperation will get you at drive. It'll get you at tenacity to find that better solution in him. Desperation initiates direction. Desperation initiates direction. Because what it does, it sets in motion that, we have the choice to go all these other routes, but what it does, desperation sets in motion the one you start to search out the source. You start to find out if it's real. I have people and say, well, I don't know if he's real. Listen, you will try everything. You will look at every source. And there's no book like the Bible that will tell the beginning from the beginning and the end to the end. And like Proverbs says, Proverbs chapter 3, 5-6 says, trust in the Lord. Watch this. With all your heart. In other words, with the core of all your being. Trust him in the core of you. And lean not or don't entertain your own understanding, your own human and fallible intellect, your own ability, your own savviness, your own intuition or judgment. But here's the alternative. In all of your ways, if you acknowledge him and submit to him, here's the promise. He will direct. He will make your paths straight. And tonight, I want to talk to you about canceling. Now, I didn't want to give the whole story away, but if you join me next week, I'm gonna tell you why we're both canceled, and you're gonna love it. Can you imagine? I used to say this when I used to pastor a while back. Can you imagine going to Costco and someone tells you, hey, you're allowed to go in here and fill up as many baskets as you want. As many baskets as you want. I'm going straight to the meat department. I don't know about you. I'm going straight to the scallops. I'm going straight to the shrimp. But can you imagine getting there to the register and they say, hey, don't worry about it. It's already paid for. It's already paid for. And that's what I want you to know. Listen, when you're canceled, God has canceled out some stuff in our life. This woman that is so desperate when she gets to Jesus, all she wants is for him to cancel out all of the wrongdoing and all of the feelings that she had for her life. And she gets desperate. I don't know about you, but there's been times where I've gotten really desperate. I know there's someone there that's been really desperate about raising your child, raising those kids. You're doing it by yourself. You have no one to turn to. You're crying on that pillow. That pillow is wet every night, right? Tears are flowing. Listen, you're worried about your job. You're trying to, gain up on your career and you don't know how to do it. You're trying to gain up in your business, but you've got all these different solutions. God wants you to trust him. If you let him do the heavy lifting, he'll solve it. Here's one thing I always tell everybody. If you face it, God can fight it. That's what I want you to know. And so tonight, I want you to simply be encouraged. I don't want to take too much time because I want to deal with the rest of how this story ends, because I want you to join me, because I want you to know you and I are canceled, but you can't out-sin your salvation. You'll understand what that means next week, because what God does is amazing, how he cancels our debt. Listen, by the way, if you didn't know, that bag or those carts of all the groceries that Costco I was telling you about, when you get to the register and they're all paid, is exactly what Jesus Christ did for us on the cross. He says, listen, no matter what you did, no matter how you felt, I already paid for it. You're at the register of your life. He's like, go ahead. Don't worry about it. The basket is already done. And so I want you to join me. Hopefully there's someone that can be encouraged by this message. And listen, your desperation, when you get there, when you can't go no further than down, the only way is up. Hey, I'm Pastor Ramone. I hope that you enjoyed and been encouraged by this message. I'll see you next week at another Monday night. Thank you for joining.